Good evening. My name is Shelley Mackey. I am the Director of Communications for Charles County Public Schools and the appointed staff liaison to the Elementary School Naming Committee. Thank you all for joining tonight's virtual hearing. Please note this hearing is streaming live on the Charles County Public Schools website at ccpoe.com. This committee was tasked with providing the Board of Education of Charles County with name recommendations for elementary school number 23. The school is currently under construction off Smallwood Parkway in White Plains and will open at the start of the 2025-2026 school year. Before the hearing begins, I want to provide a quick overview of the format. The committee will provide a brief overview of its work and take feedback about the school name recommendation. The committee last month presented 3 name recommendations to the Board of Education. Following the presentation, the committee will hear feedback from anyone joining tonight who wants to provide comments or ask questions. The comments or questions should relate to the naming committee's recommendations and not any other topic. Please also try to limit your comments to a few minutes to provide others with an opportunity to share feedback. Those interested in providing comments or asking questions should indicate in the chat. As the liaison to the committee, I will help monitor the chat and enable both audio and video access for those interested in sharing comments. Right now, only myself and the committee members and staff have audio and video access. If you do not want to speak but want to provide feedback to the committee, please enter it in the chat. You can also email it to me at smackey@ccpos.com and I can share it with the committee. The committee will share feedback heard tonight, as well as results from an active survey that's posted at ccpoe.com with the Board of Education at its March 12th meeting. So joining us this evening are several of our elementary school naming committee members. We have Carrie Richardson, Sanaya Niles, Sydney Smith, Bridget Patterson, and Natalie Miles. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We also have our Chief of Supporting Services and Operations for Charles County Public Schools, Mr. Michael Heim. I will now turn the presentation over to the committee members. Please allow me just a minute and I will share our screen. Okay, can everybody see the initial slide, School Naming Committee Virtual Public Hearing? Yes, okay. I started here, I named our committee members. So Ms. Richardson, if you would like to start here and take it from here.
All right, good evening. The purpose of the hearing is to provide an overview of the committee's work and take feedback about the name recommendations. Last month, the committee presented to the Board of Education 3 name recommendations for Elementary School 23. The committee is not accepting any new recommendations. The committee will provide an update to the board at its March 12th meeting, and the update will include feedback from tonight's hearing as well as information from an active survey about the name recommendations. The survey is posted at the school system's website, www.ccpoe.com, through Friday, March 1st, and the board will make the final name decision this spring. When the committee first met, we were presented with 50 total submissions. The full list is available for viewing at the school system's website, www.ccpoe.com. Of those 50 submissions, 33 were names of a person, 10 were of geographic features or locations in Charles County, and 7 were names other than a person or a geographic location in the county. Please note that not all of the names submitted did meet the criteria of Board Policy 7230.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So the school name criteria, Policy 7230, is as follows. A name of a geographic feature of a location in Charles County, as long as the name is widely recognized to relate to the area in which the facility is located, and if the geographic name contains the name of an identified person, the name meets the provisions of the policy concerning a person's name. The next criteria is that the name other than a person or geographic feature or location that the board deems appropriate, as long as the name does not conflict with current board policies, core values, or curricular objectives. And then we have the name of person, as long as the person has been deceased for at least 10 years and has made and demonstrated contribution to the community, county, state, or nation that exemplifies the current core values of the board and the community. All right, and the tasks of the committee are the committee shall provide an opportunity for public engagement, including but not limited to a community-wide survey and potential new names with rationale for school. The survey results will be made public on the CCPS website, and they were made public on February 14th. The committee shall meet to review and consider its received input based on that input from its own members, and any other information deemed appropriate. The naming committee shall submit its preferred name recommendations, including up to 2 alternate recommendations, to the board for consideration. The recommended names must be consistent with the board's adopted vision, mission, goals, and values. The naming committee may suggest to the superintendent that an independent third-party source research all persons and place naming recommendations prior to submissions of the names to the board. Any information provided to the naming committee by the third-party source shall be included in the submission material. The naming committee's name recommendations will be presented to the board as a recommendation of the committee. A board public hearing will be scheduled to receive comments and input on the proposed school or facility name change. The board is not bound by the naming committee's recommendation. Nothing precludes the board from initiating and conducting more than one school naming or renaming process for more than one school or facility at a time, or at the same time, excuse me. Committee met 3 times between December and January. All members attended both the first and last meeting, with proxy of 8 members attending the second meeting. At the first meeting, the committee reviewed the 50 names and eliminated any that did not meet board policy 7230. The committee took a vote on each name on the list, whether to keep, move forward, or eliminate.
The committee selected the following 3 name recommendations: Margaret Jamison Thornton Elementary School, Ronald E. McNair Elementary School, and White Plains Elementary School. Margaret Jamison Thornton was a lifelong Charles County resident and an educator with CCPS. Born in 1931, Ms. Thornton was educated in the one-room schoolhouse in Fort Saco until 6th grade, and completed her high school studies at Belton Senior High School, where she graduated as a junior. She completed her senior year at Dunbar Senior High School and earned a master's degree, equivalent in early childhood education, from Bowie State Teachers College. Thornton began her teaching career at Fort Saco Elementary School and also held positions at Bell Alton Senior High School, Indian Head Elementary School, and Gale Bailey Elementary School. Thornton was a strong supporter of early education and helped raise awareness of the importance of providing a kindergarten program. Once the Charles County Board of Education changed its early education policy to offer kindergarten, Thornton became one of the system's first kindergarten teachers. Upon her retirement from CCPS, Thornton and her husband opened a family business, Thornton Funeral Home in Indian Head. He passed away in 1997. Ronald E. McNair, PhD, was an MIT-trained physicist who specialized in laser research before joining NASA in late 1970s. In February 1984, he became the second African American to reach space. Serving as a mission specialist aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, on January 28, 1986, he was one of the 7 crew members killed when the Challenger exploded 17 seconds after liftoff. McNair was nationally recognized for his work in the field of laser physics and received many honorary degrees, fellowships, and commendations. McNair was posthumously awarded the Congressional Space Medal of Honor. McNair's brother Carl wrote Ronald's official biography. On the book, Carl details a story about Ronald, who in 1959 refused to leave a segregated library in SD without being able to check out his book. After police contacted his parents, Ronald was able to check out books from the library, which is now named the Ronald E. McNair Life History Center.
White Plains Elementary School. Elementary School 23 is under construction in White Plains. Address of the school is 5860 St. David Drive, White Plains, Maryland 20695.
Our next steps. So February, we had the community survey launch to collect feedback on name recommendation. Today, February 28th, 2024, committee hosting virtual public hearings on name recommendation. In March, the committee will share community feedback with the board. March, April 2024, the board takes action on school name.
Thank you to all of our community members our committee members who shared information. In order for me to check the chat, I'm going to remove the presentation, and I don't see any attendees who are on who have any comments or feedback. I do have one person actually, a Miss Johnson, so if you give me just a minute. Okay. Hi, Miss
Johnson,
can you hear me?
Hi. Unfortunately, the chat was actually disabled, but
Oh, wow. Okay. But you're able to raise your hand. Perfect. So thank you for sharing that. So do you have some feedback or some comments, questions that you'd like to answer?
Yes, I just have feedback for Margaret Jameson Thornton. Okay. Being that this is an elementary school, I do believe she is the most qualified for the school to be named after. She was the person who, like the tech said, started the kindergarten program, and she was very affluent in any school that she participated in. She was one of the main teachers that was very influential. She loved the children. At her funeral, there was hundreds of former students who showed up and was very appreciative of how she taught and how she cared for her students. I think this is the second time that she's been nominated. The other options, Ronald McNair having something already named after him. I think her name being on a school not only represents a lifelong person of Charles County, but an educator that really cared and that was in the elementary school. So I vote for her name, and the reason being.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Do you have any other comments or questions?
I guess my question is the criteria and the likelihood of not choosing a total different name after, as the last time, they had the three names and picked none of them. Just charging the committee to actually go forward with the community vote and the recommendation of the community.
Right. So there is language within board policy 7230 or 7230 that does say that the board does not have to move forward with a naming committee recommendation, and the board does have the final decision. So the committee staff, we don't have any influence over that. The committee is charged with reviewing name recommendations and narrowing it down to provide recommendations to the board.
Understood, and I'm sure the board members possibly are listening. So that was my charge to them. Not just you guys do this hard work and the community gets involved. And that was just a charge to them hearing this, that it would be great to actually listen and do the community's recommendation for this time.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, Mr. Williams, let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you well, sir. Yes, thank you. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, thank you. And first and foremost, thank you to all the committee members for your time and effort in this name selection process. I know it's not an easy task, so I just want to thank each and every one of you. I'm a huge fan of the geographical location name. In the news over the last few years, we have seen too many buildings, names, statues kind of get renamed or torn down because they're associated with something. I think it's just easy to name the school White Plains Elementary. That's where we live. And that's my input. And again, thank you for everyone for all your hard work.
And thank you, Mr. Williams, for joining this evening and for sharing your feedback. I do see another hand raised, and those who are here as attendees, if you are not seeing the chat and you would like to ask questions, provide comments, please utilize that hand raise function, and then I can enable your capability to talk. So Niall Milton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. And again, I appreciate all the hard work that's being done right now. I just kind of wanted to chime in as a parent from my student. He went to a school in Fairfax County Public Schools, and we went through the experience of in 2021, his school had to be renamed due to the fact that they found out some information that was disparaging in regards to the person they named the school after. So it was Sidney Lanier Middle School, and in 2021, it was renamed Katherine Johnson Middle School. And that was due to information, some racial things that that person supported back when they were, alive. And so I just wanted to chime in along with the gentleman that just spoke that the White Plains Elementary School is a very good choice, because sometimes when they name schools, you may not have all the information, and maybe later on down the line, some things are discovered or uncovered. And with the White Plains Elementary School, you can't really go wrong with that. And we had to go through the name change, and I remember coming to his school and not saying the right name and and kind of getting a little backlash for that. So I just wanted to just mention that I think that the White Plains Elementary School choice is a good, safe choice, that later on in the future, you won't have to go back and rename the school. So, and that's coming from a parent that went through a name change within 2021 of a few years ago. So I just wanted to put that in there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Milton. Thank you for joining this evening. I have Ms. Carter. Ms. Carter, can you hear me?
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. How are you this evening?
I am great. My name is Tanja Carter. I'm actually the niece of Margaret Jameson Thornton, so I have a little greater insight into who she was. I do want to make a correction to the summary that was read, and I think it was already said. She was beyond a strong supporter of early education, but really an initiator of kindergarten, seeing the need for that. But it also says that upon her retirement from Charles County Public Schools, that she and her husband opened the funeral home. Thornton Funeral Home was established in 1968, and therefore she simultaneously worked not only as a great teacher, but also as the chief financial officer for a newly established business, which in 2024 we are still in existence. She also had a great deal of input, not only within the school system, but within the business, and also helping to make funeral arrangements and working with families. Just like the impact that she had made many years ago within the public school system, which is still evident because of the kindergarten um, classes being available, some of the initiatives that she spearheaded that were established at the funeral home, we still use today. When I was reading Mr. McNair's summary, and although it was brief, it reads very prestigiously, while my aunt reads as though she was an ordinary woman who simply loved teaching. And she was anything but ordinary. She was actually quite extraordinary. She was a woman and a teacher who was unafraid to go against the norms of a school system. She spoke not her truth, but the truth. She actually failed an entire first grade class because she knew they weren't ready for the challenges of second grade. That's something that would never happen today, I don't think. And then she also used everyday living in her classroom to not only teach the concepts established by the school system, but also life skills. Life itself was a classroom to my aunt. And as I said before, she simultaneously, with her husband, ran a business. When she died, her meticulous and record keeping in everyday transactions over a 29-year period enabled us to continue to operate from an administrative standpoint without chaos. So she was not only great in her ability to teach, but also in her skills as a businesswoman and a supporter of her husband. Additionally, she was a supportive wife. She was a great grandmother. She was a sister of 13 siblings, and she was the elder, not the eldest, but second eldest of those siblings. So looked up to within her own family. She was an aunt and a friend. She was an epitome of, if anyone is familiar with the Proverbs 31 woman, she was that woman. Knowing who she was as a person and the countless untold contributions she's made as a Charles County resident would, to me, demand that her value be placed higher than the name of White Plains. And with respect to Mr. McNair, whose life and contributions are more than noteworthy, I think the fact that we're naming a Charles County elementary school, and in my opinion, I think that the name of an extraordinary elementary school teacher who daily went beyond the call of duties in every aspect of her life demands that her legacy continue in the naming of the school. And while I do understand the concerns that was already addressed with regards to names, I can assure you that anyone who does any background on Mrs. Thornton, and as the previous caller stated, when she died, hundreds of people, a lot of them, her previous students, would attest to there will not ever be anything in her history or her background, while I know that that does happen, would diminish who she was as an educator, as a businesswoman, or the name of the school. And so I just thank you for the opportunity to speak to who she was, and grateful for the opportunity that her name was even mentioned yet again.
Thank you, Ms. Carter, and thank you for sharing the updates that are needed for that information that was presented. So
Absolutely.
I can take care of that on my end as well, and I may reach out to you just to verify that what we have is indeed accurate. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody else who joined us this evening who is still here, Ms. Milton, Mr. Williams, Ms. Johnson? I don't have any other attendees that have their hand raised. I do see two other individuals, Ms. Thornton, Mr. York. If you would like to provide any comments, ask any questions, please utilize that hand raised function. I'm happy to enable your audio or your video. Any other questions, comments? I just want to give that a minute. Does anyone on the committee have anything to share, follow up with, any other last comments to provide? No? Okay. Well, again, I want to thank everybody who joined this evening for coming. Thank you to Mr. Williams, Ms. Milton, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Carter for joining this evening, for sharing your feedback. As stated at the start of the hearing, the committee will consolidate this information. I do want to remind those who are watching and those who take the opportunity to watch this hearing, the recording, that there is a survey on the name recommendation. It is active until 11:59 p.m. on Friday, March 1st. It is located on the school system website, which is www.ccboe.com. I encourage the community to take a look at that survey. In one of the initial questions, there is a link to background information on the name recommendations. Please take the time to take a look at that and then complete the survey. I see a hand raised for Ms. Johnson. You can go ahead and unmute.
I just want to lastly say, as Tanja Carter stated, she's her niece. I was her granddaughter. And I charge anyone that just wanted it to be the White Plains Elementary to do research. You know, this is African American, and this is a great way to, you know, we are in February, and this is a great way to honor a African American woman in the Charles County legacy of schools. So I just charge anybody that has a concern to do research.
Okay,
that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. On behalf of the committee, I appreciate that follow-up. So before we close out, does anybody else have anything to share? Any of our attendees have any other final remarks or questions? Okay, well, thank you all again for joining. On behalf of the committee, we all appreciate your time and your passion and for joining us to talk about school naming recommendations. And the committee will be consolidating feedback from tonight and the survey and providing an update to the Board of Education at its March meeting. I believe that date is March the 12th. So please be on the lookout on the school system website for, March the 12th, that meeting agenda, because there will be a presentation that includes information from tonight and the survey as well. So please, thank you. Enjoy your evening, and please remember to complete the survey. Have a good evening.